Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome. Ever have one of those moments where you get a brilliant idea and you just know it's got to be right? Well, today we're going to put on our detective hats. We're going to learn how to take that hunch and turn it into solid fact, or, figure out if it was just a wild guess. Let's get into it. So, let's start with the big mystery. You've got a great idea. Maybe it's a new strategy for your favorite video game, or a better way to shoot a free throw. You have a hypothesis. That's just a fancy science word for your hunch. But how do you go from just thinking you're right to actually knowing you're right? How do you put your idea to the test? All right, tool number one in any detective's kit is the art of observing. Seriously, before you do anything else, before you jump to any conclusions, you just have to watch. It's all about gathering clues by paying super close attention to the world as it is.
So what is observation? It's really just watching and measuring stuff without getting in the way. Think about a coach for a pro team watching hours and hours of game film. They're not on the court playing, right? They're just taking notes, tracking what the other team does, gathering that data. That's pure observation. And observation isn't always about looking at tiny things up close. Sometimes you gotta zoom way out. You need that bird's eye view to see the really big picture, like how our entire planet is changing over time. To do that, we use some pretty cool tech, like satellites orbiting the Earth. They're our eyes in the sky. For example, take the Jakobshavn Glacier over in Greenland. It's this massive river of ice. By using satellites to observe it for years, scientists can actually measure how much it's shrinking, giving us huge clues about our climate.
Observation is also perfect for exploring places that are just impossible for us to get to. Places that are way too dangerous or too far away or even too small to see. So when we can't go ourselves, what do? We send in the robots.
I mean, let's be real. We can't just hop in a car and go to Mars for the weekend. So instead, we send awesome robotic detectives like the Curiosity rover. This thing is literally cruising around Mars, zapping rocks with lasers, and sending all those clues back to us here on Earth. That's observation.
Okay, so that first tool, observation, it's pretty passive, right? You're just watching. But what if watching isn't enough to crack the case? Well, that's when you have to switch from watching to doing. It's time to run an experiment. This is where you get active and actually set a trap to catch the truth.
See the difference? Observation is watching what happens all on its own. An experiment is when you make something happen to see the result. It's like the difference between just watching a basketball game versus setting up a special drill to see if those brand new shoes really help you jump higher. You're poking the world a little bit to see how it reacts.
An experiment is basically a test you do under controlled conditions, and that word controlled is everything. Think about it. If you're trying a brand new, super difficult skateboard trick for the first time, you're not going to do it down a giant flight of stairs, are you? No way! You're going to go to a skate park where you can control the situation and see if the trick even works. That's an experiment.
Okay, you need to listen closely here, because this is probably the most important secret in the entire detective manual. If you want your experiment to actually work and give you a clear answer, you have to follow the golden rule of testing. I like to call it the one thing rule. You can only change one thing at a time.
That one thing you decide to change, that's called the independent variable. Let's go back to that video game example. If you have a hunch that new shoes will make your character run faster, the shoes are your independent variable. They're the one suspect you're testing. To do it right, you can only change the shoes. You can't change the shoes and the shirt and the pants, because then you'd have no idea what actually made the difference. So if the shoes are the one thing you change, what's the thing you measure? That's called the dependent variable. It's the outcome that depends on the change you made. In our game, it's your character's actual run speed. You measure the speed with the old shoes, then you change only the shoes and measure the speed again. Did it change? Now you know.
Let's look at a classic case of an investigation gone wrong. So, this woman feels sick, and she thinks it's her diet. Makes sense. But instead of testing one suspect at a time, she changes 5 things at once. So yeah, she starts to feel better, which is great, but her experiment was a total failure. Why? Because she has absolutely no clue which of those 5 things was the real culprit. Was it the dairy, the sugar, the junk food? The case is completely unsolved because she broke the one thing rule.
So this is the main takeaway, the most crucial point. If you want a clear result, if you actually want to solve the mystery, you have to investigate one suspect, one variable at a time. Change one single thing. That's how you get a real, trustworthy answer.
Now, hey, even the best detectives make mistakes. Sometimes your tools are a little off, or maybe you start your stopwatch a half second too late. It happens. It's called experimental error. But don't worry, the fix is actually pretty simple. You just do the test a bunch of times and then average all the results together. This helps smooth out any of those little mistakes and gets you way closer to the real truth.
So there you have it. That's your official detective kit. You've got observation for gathering clues when you're just watching, and you've got experimentation for when you need to set a trap for the truth. Now, let's talk about how you can actually use this stuff. Because look, this isn't just for scientists in a lab. This is for you, right now. Think about your own life. What are you curious about? What hunches do you want to test? Where could you use your new detective skills to find a real answer instead of just guessing?
You can literally design an experiment for almost anything. Want to find the best way to study? Okay, for your next history test, change one thing. Only use flashcards. For the science test after that, only reread the chapter. Keep everything else the same. Same study time, same room. Your grade is the result. Or that slow Wi-Fi? Move your router to one new spot. Run a speed test 3 times and average it. The next day, move it to another single spot and do it again. See, you're in control. You're finding the answers. The world is just packed with questions and little mysteries, and now you have the tools to be a detective and start solving them. So what are you curious about? What's that hunch you've always wanted to test? Go out there and find some answers. So tell me, what mystery will you solve first?